everyone, this is Mrs. Musoff, and today we're going to be continuing to work with properties of logarithms, but we're going to be doing some condensing instead of expanding, and then we're going to learn one other formula that helps us type some of the unsolvable ones into our calculator. Alright, so the first thing you have to remember about our properties is what logarithms are related to, because those are the properties we kind of base these log properties off of. So logarithms are related to exponents. Alright, so the same rules that apply to exponents apply to logarithms too. And because of that, we can pretty much know these properties pretty well because they're similar to what we've seen before. So for example, if we had two bases multiplying, like x to the 4th times x to the 8th, we would turn that into x to the 4 plus 8. We would add them, which would be x to the 12th. So multiplying means we add our exponents. And that's why we expand multiplication into addition when we use logs. Since today we're condensing though, I'm going to write the exact same property that we write for expanding, but I'm going to flip it around so you can see how we would condense these logs back together. Alright, so the property is that if I had two separate logs with some base b, so log base b of x and log base b of y, and I was adding them together, if I wanted to condense, so put them back together, I would change the addition into multiplication. So it would turn into x times y. Alright? Another exponent rule we have is if we have two bases dividing, like x to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd, we would subtract our exponents. So this, for example, would turn into x squared, because that's 5 minus 3. Alright, well, same rule applies with logs, but again, I'm going to write it backwards so you can see how we would condense it. And that is if we were subtracting two logs, alright, I could put them back together in one log by dividing, because subtraction and division go together. Alright, and then our one other rule is that if we have x squared to the 5th, so a power to a power, when you take it to a higher power, you multiply the exponents. Alright, and so again with a log, if there was, again we're going to go backwards, alright, so if there's a number that you're multiplying, let's say m times a log, then I can take that number and raise it to the exponent, so it would become log base b of x to the m. Alright, so these are the rules that we're going to be working on applying today. Taking two logs, putting them back together into one, or moving these coefficients to exponents. Alright, and if you're not sure what order to do it in, this statement right here will tell you. In general, we'll bring the power in first, so power is step 1, and then we'll go left to right, and that'll be step 2. Alright, let's try it. So, in example 1, condense the expression. And condense means write as one log. Write as one log. Okay, that's a 1. I know it looks weird. Let me try that again. One log. Okay, there. Now I'm satisfied. Alright, so in part A, my goal is to change instead of two logs, I want just one log. But before I can do that, I have to do the power first. So I'm going to take these numbers in front that are being multiplied, and I'm going to move them back to becoming exponents. Alright, so they're going to become the exponent of whatever's inside the log. So for example, it'll become log base 3 of 7 squared, and minus log base 3 of x to the 5th. Okay, after you do that first step, now we should be able to put it back together. So remember, I only want one log, so I'm only going to write one log, and then I'm going to put parentheses. And the way I like to do it is to put whatever is inside the log, that's what's going to go in the parentheses. The only question is whether it's multiplying or dividing. So subtraction right here, we should remember that subtraction pairs with dividing. So that means I'm going to take the 7 squared, put it on top, and this is where it says it goes left to right. That's why it matters. So left, I start with the one on the left, and then I divide by the one on the right because it's subtraction. Alright, and since we know what 7 squared is, I'm just going to rewrite this as 49. So it'll be 49 divided by x to the 5th. And there's my final answer. Alright, let's try it again in letter B. excuse me. So again, remember the first thing we did is we found any coefficients and we moved them back to exponents. So here, for example, it'll become log of 2 squared, which is just log of 4. Alright, now I know for us, we like to always have a base written down. Alright, so when there is no base, hopefully you remember that means the base is 10. So for all of these, I'm going to write in a little base 10. And now I'm going to rewrite the whole expression. So I have log base 10 of 6 plus log base 10 of 4 minus log base 10 of 3. And now that I've taken care of those coefficients, I should be able to write it as just 1 log base 10, parentheses, and whatever's inside my log, each one of my logs I should say, is going to go inside of the parentheses. The only question is multiply or divide. Well, addition means I multiply, subtraction means I divide. So for this one, the 6 is going to be multiplied to the 4, but then divided by the 3. Alright, and then just use your calculator to help you simplify or do it in your head. 6 times 4, that's 24. Divided by 3 is 8. So I end up with log base 10 of 8. And you could keep the parentheses there. That's fine, or you could get rid of them. Still means the same thing. Alright, one more condensing. So again, remember look back at these problems, what that first step always was. Alright, that's this part right here. Alright, anytime you see a coefficient, move it. So, I'm going to look for those coefficients first, and I'm going to move them. Boom, and boom. So that becomes log base 8 of x squared. The log base 8 of 5 does not change, but the last one becomes log base 8 of y cubed. Okay, and then once again, I want just one log, a single log, so I'm just going to write one log, and everything that's inside of my log is going to go inside of the parentheses, and I'll know whether it's top or bottom, or whether it's multiplying or dividing, based on these signs here. Okay, the first one is always the one in top, because it's always positive. Alright, so I know I'll put an x squared on top, but since it's minus the 5, that means divide by the 5. And minus the y cubed means the y cubed will be divided by 2, so it'll be on the bottom. So this would be my final answer. Alright, go ahead and flip your page over. We've got just one more kind of example to do. And it's using our calculator. So if you have your calculator, go ahead and take it out so that you can follow along with me. If you don't have your calculator, then follow my steps really carefully and maybe make some notes, some extra like which buttons to press, so that you can remember how to do it when you do have a calculator. Okay, so on your calculator, take it out real quick. Whoops, let me clear this out for you. On your calculator, you should see one button that jumps out at you as a log button. It's on the left side, and hopefully you see it. There it is. That right there is a log. Alright, but notice how it doesn't give you like a spot to type the base in. It only gives you a spot for the parenthesis and what comes after it. That's because this button on your calculator is a base 10 log. Only a base 10 log. So, and if you forget that, just look right above the log, see in blue where it says 10 to the x. That's what can remind you. Alright, since it's only a base 10 log, we're only allowed to type base 10 logs into our calculator. But that kind of stinks because, for example, in this problem, letter A, we have a base 5. Or in letter B, we have a base 9. What am I supposed to do if I don't have a base 10? How can I not type it in my calculator? I'm not going to have an answer. That's not fair. So, instead, we have a formula that allows us to change our base to a base 10, and then we can type it into our calculator. Alright, so this is the formula we use. If you have a log with a base, let's just call it B, of some number A, and you want to type it in your calculator, we're going to change that base to a 10 by doing log of the upper number, so A, divided by log of the bottom number, which is B. Alright, so again, just to give you an example, if I had log base 7 of 22, and I wanted to type that in my calculator, since it's a base 7, I can't just type log 722. That doesn't work. Instead, I would do log of the upper number divided by log of the bottom number, and I would type that in my calculator. Okay, and when you type it in, let me just show you, we have to do log 22, close the parentheses, and then divided by log of 7. Okay, and I would say like 1.59, 1.588, or 1.6, depending on what they tell you to round to. So I'll just say 1.59. Alright, so let's try a couple more with that idea. So again, use the change of base, that's this formula we just learned, to evaluate the expression. That means we're also going to be using the calculator. Okay, so right here, the base is not 10, the base is 5, which means I need the formula. So I'm going to do log of the upper number and divide it by log of my base. Okay, and again, to practice typing it in our calculator, we would do log of the 9, close parentheses, divided by log of 5. Whoops, I forgot to close the parentheses at the end. Should still give you the same answer, but I'm just going to type it in case. Log of 9 divided by log of 5. Okay, the most important parenthesis to close is this first one, but we might as well close them both. And so we'll get 1.365. And it doesn't say what to round to, so I'm just going to say 1.365. Alright, same kind of thing in letter B. So again, it's a base 9. That's not 10, so I have to use the formula. So I'll do log of the upper number, 5/9, and divide it by log of my base, which is 9. Okay, so again, log of 5/9 divided by log of, what was it? Base 9, so log 9. Alright, and I would get negative 0.267513, blah, blah, blah. So I'll just call this negative 0.27. And that would be my answer, negative 0.27. Alright, and then that's it for today. If you had any questions on what we did, first try going back and re-watching it. Sometimes just seeing it a second time makes a lot more sense. If you're still confused, write down those questions and ask your teacher when you get a chance. Thanks for watching.